Natlan is gonna be really bad, and here's why. Let's get into it. Natlan has been the region that I've been the most excited about. We know so little about the nation. We haven't met any NPCs from the area, although we might have already met a potential character from the area, as it is highly speculated that Bennett is from Natlan. But so far, this has not been officially confirmed. NPCs from other nations have visited the area and did not indicate any challenges in traveling to and from Natlan. But we still haven't seen anyone from Natlan. Why is that? Can the people there leave? Can they not leave? For me personally, I can't wait to see the volcanoes, the Marjavari. When I look at fan-made maps, I get really excited. They look so good. The red and orange color just works so well together. There's so much mystery around Natlan at this point, and I can't wait to go there. We also saw the character Ianson in the Travel trailer, and I really like her design. Will she be my future main? Oh, you please make her strong. For the one time, you know? Based on Ianson's design and the music from the Travel trailer, I was thinking that they were going to go for a Mesoamerican vibe, maybe Aztecs or Mayan. So in my mind, I'm thinking, for the architecture, you'll have like temples and pyramids with tribal carvings. As related to the character designs, they would have tribal outfits, tribal weapons, something that I was really looking forward to. At the time, I was really worried about the amount of backlash there would be once Natlan comes out from, warriors who fight for justice socially, if you know what I mean. Of course, there will be some, as always, that's inevitable. But now I'm worried that there actually will be more, potentially a whole lot more. I wasn't playing Genshin when Sumaru came out, but based on what I've seen and heard, there were complaints as it relates to diversity and representation. I am not sure the extent of this drama, as I wasn't a part of the community at that time. Anyway, why am I bringing this up? Well, we finally got some Natlan lore in the description of the Battle Pass weapon, the talking stick. When I read it, my excitement for Natlan went up even more. I couldn't believe that Hoyo would also be drawing inspiration from West African cultures. While I was excited, I tried not to raise my expectations too high. That way I wouldn't necessarily be too disappointed, depending on how things play out. Since we finally got some lore drops about Natlan, I wanted to see what the reactions were. So then I went on the internet, do some research, and unfortunately I ended up in some weird places. Mainly Twitter. Well, X, formerly Twitter, and Reddit, and to a lesser extent YouTube. I saw some comments that were really shocking, and then my excitement for Natlan began to turn into worry. For example, I saw a comment that said, based on information in the lore drop, there shouldn't be any white characters in Natlan. Really? Another comment said that if there are more than 2 white characters in Natlan, they are uninstalling the game. Bro, it's not that deep, I swear. I also saw a comment that said, we need a dark-skinned meta character, because all the meta characters in the game are currently white. And they, the person who made the post, were not less than white people. And so they need a dark-skinned meta character. In my mind, I'm thinking, why are people taking things so literally? At the end of the day, it's a game. Your worth in real life shouldn't be determined or affected by whether or not there's a dark-skinned meta character in a game that you play. So I started to wonder, do a lot of people share these opinions, or is this just a vocal minority? I'm hoping that is not the majority of the player base. Well, then again, I don't really like the word minority, or at least when people refer to themselves or others as such. I think that must have an impact on you on a subconscious level. I think that there's a difference between saying you're a minority and you're a part of a group that is in the minority. Maybe it's semantics, but I do believe it makes a difference, at the very least on a subconscious level. Anyway, I digress. I'm hoping that these people with these opinions represent only a very small portion of the player base. The thing is, I don't feel like I'm qualified enough to speak on representation, as I don't feel like I have enough sufficient knowledge on the matter. For example, does a game need to have dark skin characters? Does it need to have characters that represent various groups that people identify with? I don't know. This is a genuine question. If Hoya draws inspiration from, for example, West Africa, do the characters need to look like people from West Africa? Let's say, for example, Hoya borrows a headdress that is worn in Kenya. Does the character who wear the headdress have to look like people from Kenya? Does it make a difference if they copied the headdress one to one, or if they were inspired by it but they put their own twist to it? At the end of the day, it's a fictional world. It's a fictional story. But these are genuine questions that I have. I don't want to just dismiss the concerns or complaints people make about diversity and representation. Even though it doesn't really bother me like that, sometimes I read comments and I can learn from it. Like, I didn't think about that. I didn't think about it from that angular perspective. I see what you're saying, whether or not I agree. My question is, does everything have to be a one-to-one representation? Is it cultural appropriation if you borrow an idea or you're inspired by a culture and you incorporate it in your fictional world or story? I'm not sure. I just foresee a lot of drama when the nation releases. For example, I saw other comments to the extent of, why does a nation inspired by Mesoamerica and West Africa not have a major city? What is Hoya implying? That the people from this region, Natlan, are not developed, not advanced, not intelligent, they are primitive? Why make it based on tribes constantly fighting each other? Is there some underlying connotation there? Why instead Natlan was inspired by a European country for you to then explore these themes? Why couldn't the region inspired by Mesoamerican culture and West African culture be like the other nations that we have already seen? I can see that maybe there are some legitimate concerns there. Do I think it's that deep? I don't know. I'm not in Hoya studio when the developers are sitting there developing these ideas. I would love to be. I would love to see the behind the scenes process of how they brainstorm character designs, how they start designing characters, doing the sketches, researching the lore and ensuring that it ties up with the story and the world. How they develop the story, how they flesh it out. I would love to see when they are designing the nations and when they are programming the game, like the actual combat, movement and such. That's just something I've always been curious about. Hopefully one day they'll release a video with some behind the scenes footage. Or they can invite me to the studio to see in person. That's fine too. I'm sure a lot of work goes into it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I don't want to quickly dismiss these concerns without giving it some thought. Then again, I am not in Hoya studio, so I don't know if they're sitting there like, we are superior people. People with darker complexion are inferior, and we want them to know this. So the region with potentially dark-skinned characters will be primitive, any dark-skinned characters will be trash, and will never see the meta. I mean, look at Xinyan. Some people have considered her the worst character in the game. Then Dea came out. Poor Dea. According to some, she's fighting with Xinyan for the worst character in the game. Some people even argue that she's worse, considering she's a 5-star, and Xinyan is a 4-star. So this has people scratching their chins like, is there a pattern here? Hoya is 2 for 2. Well, maybe Sino is crying in a corner right now. I don't know if these were deliberate choices made with malicious intent, or it just so happened to coincidentally play out like that for these characters, and the themes or designs planned for this region. So I can see where people are coming from with these concerns. Do I think it's that deep? Not really. Like, personally, I'm not reading that much into it. As far as I'm concerned, it's a game. I'm not taking things that literally. At the end of the day, regardless of what Hoya does, there will be people who complain. You can't please everyone. If there are no dark-skinned characters, people will complain. There are, but they are not meta. Their potential will be more, but why the region has those themes? Let's say, for argument's sake, that there are a lot of characters with dark skin in Natlan, but the Archon is white. People will complain. If the Archon is dark skinned, but let's say Capitana challenges her to a trial of combat for her gnosis, and she dies, people will complain. Why the only dark skinned Archon had to die? Right now, it doesn't seem like people have faith in Hoya for this region, based on the drama surrounding representation when Sumeru came out. I've seen a number of people saying, at the end of the day, most of the characters in Natlan will be white. So even if a character has an African name, like Wanjiru for example, if we get a flashback of a talking sick lore, Wanjiru will probably look like Yelan. Oh, that's funny. At this point, this is what they have come to expect. They just borrow the inspiration from wherever they want and make the characters however they want. On the flip side, there's an argument that could be made that it's just marketing. Genshin is made by a Chinese company. Chinese players make up a majority of the player base, potentially in terms of a number of players and revenue. If you include the player base from Europe and North America as well, most likely, most of the player base are of a lighter complexion, so it is easier to market characters of that complexion to players of that complexion. I would think that it's just marketing. Does that mean that marketing is inherently biased? If you know that a majority of your market is of a certain demographic, and you make and market your products to cater to said demographic, is that biased or is that just smart business? I can see the arguments for both sides, but I guess my question is, why should I care? And that's the part I'm struggling with. I enjoy the game, I enjoy the story, I like the characters. If Natlan comes out and I enjoy it, then that's what matters. Why should I care whether or not people like it or not? But then again, am I trying to live in a bubble? In my own echo chamber? Because when things are good, I'm with the community celebrating like, oh my god, the Fontaine Archon quests were great, Naida story quest was so good, Yoimiya story quest was so wholesome. But when there are potential concerns, I just shut it out because it doesn't affect me, or it doesn't bother me. I don't think it's necessary to share my view on everything. Sometimes you have to know how to pick your battles, and the battle of representation is not one I feel knowledgeable enough to fight. These are just some thoughts I've been having though, as it relates to Natlan. Personally, I'm going in with an open mind. At the end of the day, it's a game. I play it for enjoyment, and will continue to play it as long as I'm enjoying it. I'm not taking it too literal. On the one hand, I don't want to dismiss people's complaints, as they may have legitimate points or concerns, but I also don't want their opinions to be my experience of the game. It's a delicate balance. I think that's everything that I wanted to cover in this video. I would love to know your thoughts. Are you excited for Natlan? Not really thinking about Natlan right now. Maybe you're just living in the moment, enjoying Fontaine, or you're actually looking forward to Snezhnaya. What do you think about the lore from the talking stick? The cultural inspirations, are you excited? Are you concerned about how it will be handled? What do you think about representation? Is it necessary? Is it not necessary? Does representation have to be one-to-one? If you draw inspiration from a particular culture, does it have to be an actual, factual, accurate representation of said culture? Is it cultural appropriation if you borrow from or are inspired by a certain culture? I don't even want to say this, as this might be, I don't know. But sometimes people from one group might borrow or draw inspiration from another group and no one complains. But then people from another group borrow inspiration or is inspired by another group and is quickly labeled as cultural appropriation. What is cultural appropriation? When is it cultural appropriation and when isn't it? Is there a way to do it? Is there a way not to do it? Is it the intent? These are some of the things that I don't know the answers to, but I am open to learning more about. Also, I would love to know if you have any feedback on the video. What did you like? What do you think can be improved? If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and if you would like to see more videos in the future, remember to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I'll be uploading more videos on Genshin and Tower Fantasy on this channel in the future. You can also catch me on Twitch, link in the description below. Thanks and take care. I'm out. Peace.
Won't you take me home and give me wings to fly? We can breathe.